Welcome to Pastoring on Purpose, the official podcast of the Center for Ministerial Care. Join us for this meaningful conversation led by Dr. Tim Maness and the Ministerial Care team about intentionally navigating the challenges, burdens, and opportunities facing church leaders and their families. We exist because healthy churches depend on healthy ministers. The Center for Ministerial Care. For ministers, for families, for you.
Welcome to another episode of Pastoring on Purpose, and this is Dr. Tim Maness here, and I am with, as usual, the good professor, Dr. Sargent. Dr. Sargent, how are you doing today, man?
I'm well, thank you. It's good to be back, and I'm looking forward to this episode.
Well, we got a really good episode for you today because we have someone that I have a great deal, well, two people actually I have a great deal of respect for. People who have been in ministry for a long time, and so today we have Dr. Thomas Probst and Laquita, his wonderful, beautiful wife with him. And to give you a little bit of information about Dr. Probst, he is a Georgia native, fourth-generation Church of God member, gave his heart to the Lord at age 5. And are you a Georgia fan, by the way?
I am. Go Dogs.
Okay, I hear you. I can't do that. I can't do the barking, so, that kind of stuff. But ordained in 1984, ministry beginning in the late 70s. Pastor Jessup Church of God in Georgia and Live Oak Church of God in Hinesville, Georgia. He's been a state overseer, Great Lakes region, Northern Ohio, as well as South Carolina. General Director at Publications at Pathway in 2004. He was nominated and elected onto the Council of 18 in 2018 from 2012. International Executive Committee Secretary General from 2012 to 2016. Academic credentials, Lee University, Trinity Theological Seminary, Pentecostal Theological Seminary, married to Laquita, Joy, 2 children. How long have y'all been in ministry now?
Altogether? Long time.
A long time.
I'd have to do the math.
Yeah. After a while, you just kind of lose count.
Well, you do. 45 plus years.
Okay.
Probably
okay.
Close to 50.
Okay. And it's an honor to have you both.
Honored to be here. It's our pleasure.
Well, we're looking forward to diving into this topic today. We're going to be talking about world missions, mental health and world missions, and then we're going to also be discussing your all's background a little bit as far as ministry and your marriage and that kind of thing. And so you're not going to miss this episode. We'll be right back right after this.
The Center for Ministerial Care provides professional counseling services for Church of God ministers and their families free of charge. We're here to help with marital or financial stress, burnout, depression, loneliness, grief, or any challenge that you might be facing. If you're a pastor in the Church of God who could benefit from professional, confidential counseling with a Pentecostal perspective, we want to help. Visit ministerialcare.com for more information.
Welcome back to Pastoring on Purpose, and we are here with Dr. Probst and Laquita. And I just want to ask, how did you two meet? Because I'm always interested in the genesis, the beginning of the story of a couple. So
it was one of those situations where he was with someone else and I was with someone else, but we ended up at a church function the same time, and it kind of went from there.
Mm-hmm. I always tell people that, okay, we're both children of the Church of God. Both fourth-generation Church of God members and love the church. And back in the day, what we were allowed to do is go to church, church functions. Right. I just told her the other day, I still remember the first time I saw you singing in the choir. She was like a palomino with that long blonde hair. And I thought, wow, I do need to get to know her. I think it was like either a YPE service or a Wednesday night, and then we would always go to Shoney's.
Of course,
every Church of
this
God.
This is so Church of God. I love this. Is like a Church of God script. This is wonderful.
We didn't even need the menu. It's just our regular.
Of course.
But the Lord brought us together, and.
Wow.
Very, very grateful for that. And we've had a good, long marriage. We've had stresses and strains and struggles like everyone. Mm-hmm. But by the grace of God, we have survived all of those.
Yeah. And she's still with you, right?
Still with me.
How many years now?
We'll be celebrating 50 years July
Wow, ooh, that's a big one.
10
That is wonderful.
this year.
That is awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, we
Congrats.
were young. We married young, but married to stay.
That's awesome. You know, going back to that, and I'm asking both of you this question, is there anything at a young age that may have shaped your calling today that you kind of go back to? I know you came to the Lord at the age of 5, right? But is there a moment that either of you can kind of draw back to, that moment where it just really had a huge impact in your life?
All I remember is the church.
Yeah.
My dad came to the Church of God out of Methodism, and of course we have historical
we're
roots
connected
in
there.
the
Yeah.
Methodist Church. My Pentecostal heritage was on my mother's side of the family. Very, very strong, matriarchal woman, but yet very, very sensitive, very, very feminine, but strong. I just knew at an early age that I was to do something. You won't know this. I actually started in music ministry.
Okay.
My first credentials, I was a licensed minister of music in the Church of God. That's
I did
an
not know
old
that.
credential
Okay.
back in the day, which served now as in lieu of the exhorter license.
Mm-hmm.
So if you felt somewhere in your music ministry you were called to preach, you wouldn't have to go back and be retested again.
I gotcha.
So anyway, started there, never had a desire to preach, never even thought about it, but church was my life. She's sitting here, I won't speak for her, but I think she would echo that church too was her life.
Yeah.
We, as I said earlier, children of the church.
Yeah.
So I just always knew that whatever I did, church would be at the very crux of it. I actually wanted to be a pharmacist.
Really?
That's
A pharmacist.
and even today, I have a great interest in pharmacology and studying that and how medicines help and how they can hurt if it's given in obviously in the wrong dosage or misused. But I always say God has a very big sense of humor.
Absolutely.
I just knew at some point that I would do some kind of ministry. As I said, we started in music ministry, and we married so young that whatever we did together.
Yeah.
We were a unit.
You hear stories of women that, I don't want to marry a preacher. No way. Well, I wanted to marry a preacher, but he wasn't a preacher. But that was okay. He was worth the sacrifice.
Absolutely.
And he was in music
We did
ministry, so
record
that was good.
Yeah, worth the sacrifice.
There's some irony there,
I
right?
hope it is.
But then later on, he did answer the call, and so here we are.
Here you are.
I just evolved.
You've evolved. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, well, you have pastored, you've been an administrative bishop. Kind of share with us the differences between the two and the different stressors that you had to kind of go through, because similar in some ways, but I can only imagine how different the two positions are.
Pastoring, I think, is at the heart of every minister. Regardless, and I know some won't agree with this. It's like in our space when you leave pastoring and the general church calls you into an administrative role. Some say, "Well, you've crossed the Rubicon. You're on the dark side. It's us and them, and it's never that."
Yeah.
If you're called to preach or teach and you're called to pastor, you can never shake that calling. Everything we do, we see through that lens. That's why it is, I think, in my observation, it can be difficult for some couples, and specifically the man, because he has to do it now, as I said, in our faith persuasion, to do everything by the quote-unquote book, because you see everything through the lens of pastor, a shepherd.
Yeah.
When someone falls or someone fails or someone gets out of what the old pioneers used to call getting out of the traces and discipline is required, that's That's hard on a good day. I remember vividly the first time I had to sign a revocation of a minister, my rank, who had had a moral failure. We'd gone through the process. If everything was done, all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted, but tears streamed down my face. And people that don't know me tell me that I have this kind of a crusty exterior, but I am anything but that.
Sure.
But I was heartbroken because I thought, who am I to have to execute this paperwork to deal with this? But I was duty bound to do it. So as a pastor, I don't think I ever had to deal with that type. Obviously, in the church, there is a moment of correction, moments of correction. You can do it publicly, you can do it privately. Yeah. You have, if the church grows, you have staff issues. You have to cast the vision for the local congregation. So many moving pieces. When you leave pastoring and the general church calls upon you to go into leadership, you still have those moving pieces, but it is at a different level. Pastoring pastors can be tough. It can be joyous. I remember we went to Great Lakes region. I was 36 years old.
Okay.
General overseer at the time, Dr. Robert White, told me, he said, Probst, you're the youngest overseer we've picked up in 30 years. I found out later it was an experiment to see.
You were kind of the guinea pig, right?
I was a guinea pig, but I didn't know it at the time. Walking into that, I thought, well, it'll be me and the boys. It'll be us against the laity. Well, what I found out was it was everybody against the office if things turned bad. And, you know, things in ministry, you have financial issues, you have issues that you all deal with here in ministerial care, vision casting, trying to sell the vision that you believe. You know, Moses was alone with God on the mountain. He heard from God. His job was to sell the vision to the people. And he had a couple of bumps in that. So very, 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 very difficult at times to shepherd shepherds. Love them. I'm part of them. I am one of them. But those, I think, are the two glaring differences.
Sure.
It's like when in our faith persuasion, when you're called upon to preach a camp meeting or a prayer conference, you're predominantly preaching to preachers. Yep. So they know your manuscript before you start reading it.
Absolutely.
They know where you're going. So you got to really bring it.
Yeah.
You know,
so. It's, you know, I'll go and say, you know, pastors at times can be difficult as well, just like anyone else.
Overseers can be difficult.
The overseers can be difficult, just like anyone else.
I was one for 12 years. I get it.
You know, you mentioned something there, Dr. Probst. I want to just kind of highlight, when you talk about the moral failure part of that, you talk about the behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see, the heartbreak, the pain, the hurt. It's a realization that with the person who had committed that moral failure, that they're coming to the realization that, well, my ministry has changed. There's been a huge shift here. And unlike other professions, when that happens in ministry, you don't just lose your job. It's your reputation. It's your finances. It's you lose so much more. And then, you know, a lot of times you have younger ministers, you have kids involved. And you're right. It's so connected. It's so difficult, and I can't imagine how difficult that is to have to sign those papers when he was an AB.
I think one of the most difficult things is folk tend to lift us who have credentials to a higher plateau.
Sure,
I embrace it. I'm accountable, but I'm just a guy.
Yeah,
I am a human being. We are all human beings saved by the grace of God, trying to make heaven our home.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I don't know if it's too early to do this, but I just want to applaud what you all do here at Ministerial Care. I remember when we did not have that. And you know, you and I see each other sometime, and I typically will say to you, I need therapy.
And I say we don't have enough time.
I am a hard shell that needs serious therapy, but the ministry that you all have, and if I can say this, the trust and the familiarity. When I would send, and even in World Missions, I send people to you.
Yeah.
I say to them, these are men and women that we know. They're part of our family.
Yeah.
They will not judge you. They will love you through this to health.
100%.
So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. You know,
Heartfelt.
I think it needs to be acknowledged, and I appreciate Dr. Probst doing that, whether early, later, or whatever. But our listeners know this. We've told them this. So this is one of the reasons we have this podcast. It's not, neither one of us like to get on here just to talk, to listen to ourselves talk. We're doing this to promote what God's doing in this ministry. So no, it's appropriate anytime to talk about it. Thank you for that. But I do want to go back. All right. So as you transition in these different roles from music minister to pastor to leader, all right? And by the way, some of the listeners out there who may not be in the members of the Church of God may wonder some of these things that we're tossing around, these administrative duties, but that's basically it. They're leadership roles, all right, which is a wonderful honor to have. However, you talked about dealing and helping pastors as they go through moral failures, which I'm assuming, correct me, that's happened unfortunately more than once. And in knowing that you have experience with this difficult phase in someone's life, all right? What have you learned? What have you learned about being there for someone when they're at that point?
I have learned that I, within myself, am clearly not enough. That's the beauty, I think, of what you all do here in ministerial care. Hebrews 12 says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth. In the Greek, the word chasteneth there means child, train, educate, or teach. It was always, and it still is, even in World Missions, and we are in 194 countries outside of the USA and Canada.
Wow.
We have situations where we have issues where discipline has to be enacted. It is never easy. It is never fun. It is never a gotcha moment. But as an administrator, I've learned that just sitting across a desk and saying, Bishop, I've got a problem.
Yeah.
I'm never enough. So the bridge that you all have given the Church of God, the bridge from abject disappointment, failure, degradation, I've blown it, I'll never recover. I can point them to the bridge. And of course, Jesus is
Absolutely.
our crutch through all of this and our hope. But you know what? Sometimes in prayer, I've not been able to hear his voice. And what I would always tell young ministers when I would ordain them, I did it every time, I would go through the script, we would go through the act of ordination, and then I'd say, now here's what I want to tell you. There are going to be times you can't feel God. I've lived long enough to learn some things. These are the things that I've learned. There are going to be times you can't hear God.
Yeah, that's true.
There are going to be times you don't feel close to God. So stay close to your spouse. Because when you can't feel or hear or sense God's presence, you can reach over and touch your spouse, and they will keep you anchored until you can find God again. But what you do here is you are the bridge from the brokenness to wholeness.
Thank you for that. You stand by your husband, not behind him, but by him. And you see him when he comes home from a very difficult. Do you notice whenever he's had a kind of a rough day, may not even have to say anything? Do you pick up on that pretty quickly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not what he says, but it's what he doesn't say. And you just know that it's been a rough day. Doesn't always have them. You have a good team, and a lot of good help, and so you don't always have them. But there are situations that when you deal with that, they're heavy.
Yeah.
And he does feel that way because, as he said earlier, a lot of people think that he doesn't really feel, but he feels deeply.
Absolutely, absolutely. And have you either of you figured out those, because everyone can relate to a certain extent, whether pastor and leadership, a rough day at the office, whatever that looks like. When you have that, what do you do to kind of help yourself heal from that, or be able to, or you don't just dwell on it forever and ever and it just kind of overtake you? Is there any kind of healthy coping techniques that you guys do as a couple? Or
one thing that really helps me is getting outside and walking. You just kind of lose everything out there, listening to music.
Sure.
It doesn't always have to be spiritual music either. Music has a way of really lifting you up when you're down. Yeah. And those two simple things have really helped me. And I know it was one time we were going through something, I think probably with Summer, and he really needed to get in touch with the Lord and really, really feel him. And I said, here, and I would send him these praise worship tapes and stuff. And he didn't want to listen to them, but I think he eventually did. It really helps. Sure does help.
The music piece of it, and we should know this from Scripture,
sure,
ushers us into the presence of the Lord and sets the table for us. But I agree with her. We when the weather is at least cooperating here in Tennessee,
yeah,
we do try to get outdoors and walk. Don't necessarily always walk in tandem, but she will walk. She's a speed walker. She walks faster than I do. So
you have to try to keep up.
I have to try to keep up. But walking, I have 3 or 4 different things that I try to let feed my spirit. Of course, Scripture and music. But then I listen to podcasts like this to try to learn other things. Health podcasts, finance podcasts, things that I'm interested in. After Try to Feed the Soul, try to feed other type interests. But walking has been, through the years, and we've done this for years, has been extremely therapeutic. Obviously, physically, it helps you as well, they tell me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Coping
and
mechanisms.
it's so simple, but I don't know if it's the nature aspect of it or the music and just getting lost. I do my greatest praying out there, walking up and down the hills. But
we live out in the country. We have 8 acres literally in the woods.
Okay.
And so it's very conducive. We're protected.
Very peaceful.
Very peaceful. Us, God, and the animals. So
well, I certainly agree with you, and you're not looking for validation, nor do you need it, but according to the research, movement like you're describing does help people. It does lift your mood just to move. Just move. It's so simple. In fact, probably some of the listeners are thinking, well, thanks. I'll listen to the podcast. They're telling me to walk. Actually, that's what the research tells us, both mental and physical health. Move, which is, ironically, that's what you don't feel like doing when you're stressed, when you're depressed. You don't want to move, but actually it's an action that we can take. So it's a very good suggestion. Yeah.
We were created to move.
Yes.
Not be still, not be stiff, not sit in one place for too long. We don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but you mentioned Summer. Okay. I don't know how, I just can't imagine the difficulty of what both of you had to go through. I would imagine that was probably the most difficult thing you've ever had to go through in your life. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. The most difficult. I've buried a mama and a daddy and a brother and a sister, grandparents. Nothing like losing a child. And anybody would tell you that, I'm sure. But Summer was a joy, and that was her name, Summer Joy. And she was a joy, but she did have difficulties. Now, at birth, it was just a developmental delay, 2 or 3 years. So everything was good, no medications, no highs and lows. Everything was really good. But then when she was 13, she had the AVM, arterial venous malformation, that burst. And so then that started her long journey of...
First hemorrhagic stroke.
Yeah.
We were blessed with 2 children. We have Matthew and, of course, his wife, Jennifer, and our two perfect grandsons.
Absolutely. And I know Matthew and Jennifer are a great couple.
Thank you. They followed. They too are children of the church, both raised in a parsonage and working here and doing great, thank God. And then we had Summer. Summer was our delight. She had special needs, obviously. And then post the hemorrhagic stroke, and we almost literally lost her. And we were in Ohio and serving there as overseer for the church. Post that event and subsequent surgeries, brain surgeries, developed a very, very, very severe seizure disorder. And obviously, Laquita was her principal caregiver. I was a backup caregiver, and then those that we would hire in that we trusted to help us. It literally took a team. She was very functional, but the seizures, she would go into full-blown, as we called them years ago, grand mal seizures. And that could only be abated with an injection of Diastat, a seizure buster. And they warned us, if you don't treat her immediately, she won't survive the seizure. They were so severe. Wow. We did that for years while leading the Church of God as an overseer.
Incredible.
And then we came into World Missions about 7 months after that. In 2017, she had the second hemorrhagic stroke, and we rushed her to Erlanger. Never did it cross our mind that we wouldn't bring our girl home. She passed her 28th birthday in the intensive care unit, and 4 specialists were assigned to her case. The lead hospitalist, after yet another surgery, met with us and said, now, I'm a believer. He said, I'm praying for Summer. Yeah. He said, but you have a couple of options. We can keep her body alive on machines, and she will lay there. And we can keep her alive a couple of months, but her body will be filled with sores. I said, I wouldn't do that to an animal, much less my baby girl. He said, then let me make a suggestion to you. Why don't we all step back and let God be God? I mean, what am I going to do with that?
Right,
I'm being admonished by a medical professional. Why don't we let God be God? Things I'd preached for decades. So we committed her to hospice, Chattanooga Hospice. We were there with her. We joined hands. We laid hands on her, committed her to God. They told us when we transported her to hospice care, they said, she's 28, her heart is strong. She can live another month or two right here. We committed her to God in 23 hours. She slipped from this life into his hands, saw her take her last breath. And it's a tough club to be a member of. Sure. Laquita said it earlier. You lose even to heaven. They're lost from here. You bury your parents, your grandparents, siblings, etc., other family members, but we're not genetically programmed to bury a child. And Summer tested out at about a first grade level. She was petite, had just turned 28, but that was our baby. And so you never get over it. Sure. You get through it. And I've had so many people, we've had so many people reach out to us. How did you do this? By the grace of God. And we know we still do it every day. Yeah. I miss her every day.
I admire both of you because, I mean, my parents, I had a brother that passed away when he was 7. And as growing up, I wasn't able to really conceptualize how that affected the marriage and the struggle. But looking back on that, now that I'm older and a counselor, I see those dynamics take place. Did you ever see, like, people have a hard time talking to you? Did they feel uncomfortable? Did they try to give you, because I know with my parents, they lost a lot of friends, because they didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do. And sometimes it felt like they may have said the wrong thing even, because people they mean well.
They do.
Okay, they mean well, but giving you a verse of scripture, or you'll get through this, or did y'all have to ever go walk? Did you have that happen to you?
I think initially, if everybody in our space knew Summer. Summer became the church kid.
Okay.
Because she loved people. She thought everybody in the Church of God was family.
I love that.
And
Everybody at the General Assembly knew who Summer was.
It was crazy. But you all will know this and can speak to this, but the U.S. Military Chaplains Corps call it the Ministry of Presence. Mm-hmm. I remember there have been times when people would try to encourage me with scripture and appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And I need that and sort of give me a lift. And I'd say, hey, just sit with me.
Yeah.
Just be in the room with me. And so I think that the ministry of presence, when tragedy comes to anyone's home, but particularly to the home of a pastor who is always giving out and giving out and giving out, just love them through it.
Yeah.
Yes, and we had those people that would come and just sit with us at the hospital.
Wow.
Hours at a time.
Wow.
Never talk.
Just be there.
But people do mean well,
Sure.
and you just love them through it all. You know, we heard she's got her angel wings now, and hey, that was a fine thing for me to visualize. She was my angel on earth. Let her be an angel in heaven. But yeah, you know, a lot of things were said, but you just love people through it because that's what they're trying to do for you.
Absolutely.
Love you through it. So
Absolutely.
we appreciated all of it.
So she lived up to her name. Just a joy to be around.
She did. Now, obviously, because of seizures and medications,
She had her moments.
moods would come and go, and she came through puberty. Special needs does not preclude puberty. God help anybody, male or female, to try to get through all of that.
Amen.
But again, this woman that's sitting beside me, she'll have so many stars in her crown.
And here you both are, and I commend both of you because statistics of couples who have lost children and them sticking together are rare, quite frankly. But here you two are now, and I commend you. So let's move on, and we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I'm going to talk about world missions and mental health, and we'll be right back right after this.
For more than 20 years, the Center for Ministerial Care has been a ministry for ministers. In addition to pastoral counseling, we provide restoration ministry for Church of God ministers in need of healing and renewal following personal and professional crisis, with a focus on respect without judgment of past mistakes. Ministerial Care also offers Spirit Care, a servant ministry focusing on creating a caring and kind community, helping retired Church of God ministers, their spouses, and widowed spouses. Visit ministerialcare.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Pastoring on Purpose, and we've been listening to Dr. Probst here share his perspective, his story about transition and moving and the challenges of that. And how was that for you? I mean, you said you wanted to become a pastor's wife, and you did over time, but then you had that transition to administrative bishop. Kind of share with the because we have a lot of pastors' wives. Over half of our clients going to counseling are female. Kind of speak into the lives and people out there, that some of the things that you may have seen from your own perspective.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you don't really want what you ask for.
Be careful what you ask for,
Exactly. Right? But, you know, with each job change, each category where we would go to a new field, there's always that a portfolio, you know, given to you. And some are more than others, like pastoring a church. Of course, it's been many years ago now that we pastored, and I'm sure it's different now. But back then, you were in charge of women's ministries. You had a portfolio that you carried out, and I'm a rule follower, so I tried to do everything like I was supposed to do, and we made it through those times, and I've always loved the saying, "Fake it till you can make it."
That's right.
I remember when our first job, when we were administrative bishops of Great Lakes, I didn't even know how to get a letter out on a computer.
Okay.
So I had a good friend that came and spent a few days with me, and we learned how to do that. And that's what I did. I faked it till I could make it, or either got help.
Yeah.
And again, you have a portfolio as a first lady of things that you're supposed to do, and you carry those out. And you have your own personality, and of course that comes through in your job as the role that's given to you as being the spouse. And then now, when he was at the publishing house, there wasn't a role for me to play there, so I enjoyed just enjoying things with Summer and exercising and those type things. You always find something to enjoy through every area. A lot of prayer, a lot of studying. That's how I made it. I love the scripture. His mercies are new every morning.
Every morning, yeah. And you said something there that I think is really important to highlight, that you find something to enjoy in every season.
That's right.
And there's many pastors, leaders out there that have lost sight of that, quite frankly. That has probably in some ways helped sustain you to get to where you're at right now.
And I had one thing said to me that was so very helpful. She said, your ministry is loving people. And I thought, yeah, I can do that. I can love people. I can encourage them. I can find a scripture to encourage them. And I found one of these books that had, like, if you're going through this, if you're going through that, here's a scripture for that. And that's why I love social media so much, because it's a way that I can reach out to people and have interaction with them. I like to interact with people. So, I think we can all find that purpose that we have. Whether we're broken or not, broken crayons, they still color.
Absolutely.
Still have purpose. We find our purpose, and we do it to the best of our ability.
In that brokenness, God still uses you.
That's right.
Yeah. I want to shift a little bit, and that's just so good. Let's talk about world missions for just a moment, if that's okay. Dr. Probst, what are some of the things that, first of all, kind of give us an idea of what you do in your job now? For those that we do have quite a bit of listeners that are not Church of God, they're in other denominations and may not be aware exactly of what that entails. But also that, and what are you also seeing on the mission field these days with our missionaries?
Church of God World Missions is the largest ministry in the Church of God. We are in 194 countries, excluding, and that's important, excluding the United States and Canada.
Wow.
Our reach is a global reach. We have strong presence in each country outside. I am presently ending up at the General Assembly a 4-year term as an elected leader. Previously was the Assistant Director of World Missions. Again, it's an elected position. I was there 4 elected, and you remember something called COVID.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to forget that.
Everything we do now is post-COVID.
Yeah.
Right. We had a 2-year extension, so I was in the AD slot for 6 years, and then finishing up my 4-year term. I am the Chief Executive Officer of this global ministry. We have a team here on campus of more than 40 full-time employees. We have hundreds of superintendents and overseers and pastors, thousands who are doing ministry globally every day. We have a good reporting system. We have a good mechanism. Over 600 commissioned missionaries.
Wow.
Then we have done further research that tells us that we can easily double, maybe it suggested triple the amount of folk who are identified with Church of God World Missions and attached to us who are doing the work of missionaries but aren't actually credentialed by us, or they're part of our space. They don't report, but we cover them.
Yeah.
So we have thousands globally who are doing it every day.
It's incredible.
They're in the trenches, and they are reaching the last, the least, and the lost of humanity.
The front line.
Front line.
And that's incredible. When you mentioned, what'd you say, 197 countries?
194.
194.
Not including USA and Canada.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Growing up in this denomination, I have a perspective, as many of us do here, that's domestic. But once you get out and meet the ladies and gentlemen who God have called around the world and see that perspective, it changes the way you see the kingdom, actually. It changes, actually, it's impacted the way that I see ministry and the way I see God, actually. Sometimes I find myself wanting to go back out, which I do often because I want to be next to those people in their perspective. But what is it like to get out there and to not just interact with God's people, but to not just to serve with them, but to gain their perspective on the kingdom?
It is mind-boggling in that, to use your words, we were both raised in the domestic church here. We'd always loved world missions, gave to world missions,
Right.
attended world mission services, which in the churches we grew up in, annually you had a missions rep come in and you would bring your gifts and your support. So we grew up doing that. Never, ever thinking that in God's providence, we would wind up in world missions, immersed in it, and honored to be able to be part of the leadership team to cast the vision for the church. I remember our first trip or two when we would be post the General Assembly of 2016 is when we came. Getting off of the plane first time, I mean, we traveled a very little bit, but I think probably Southeast Asia was one of our first trips, going into Thailand, and the crowd of Church of God people gathered it there. No, nobody told you. You don't get okay, here's what's going to happen. You just show up, again, like an innocent kid, and they are waving banners. And I remember turning around, who are they waving at? Yeah. They were waving at us. Wow. And you say, well, it's a culture. They were bowing. Part of that is culture, but it is a culture of honor.
It is.
Yeah. And I felt, oh my Lord, these people are treating us as if we're royalty. Oh, I remember saying, did you get that vibe? And then to be there for several days, see where they live. I remember the first time we walked through Bangkok. Mm-hmm. It is a city of great diversity in this. One side of the street, you have multi-million-dollar buildings and skyscrapers and businesses. Walk across the street, abject poverty. Mm-hmm. It is life altering. It is. You will never see human nature, spirituality, ministry through the same lenses. It is amazing.
To Georgia people.
South Georgia, can I say South Georgia?
We thought that was everything right there. We didn't know there was another world outside of there. But when we left Georgia, it's like, wow, there's a whole other world out here. Well, now in world missions, it's like, oh my goodness, And I always had the thought that, I'm going to go and I'm going to love on these people and I'm going to encourage them and bless them. I'm going to give them something they need or whatever. And I'm always the one that's blessed every time, every time. So
something I've noticed about our brothers and sisters overseas is something I admire in their Christian walk is the intentionality. Mm-hmm. It's something as Christians in the American culture is so much, Christianity is so much a part of our culture, it becomes almost routine, all right?
Absolutely.
And you don't have to think intentionally if you don't choose to. But what I've noticed around the world is the intentionality of the people following Christ. You know, being intentional and thinking about being a Christian, what does that mean for me today and tomorrow versus just, yeah, I am a Christian, I attend church and things like that. And I just really value that. It just seems deeper than sometimes you see in the general population. This is no disrespect to our own people or the people of the United States, but that's something I really value. In fact, it challenges me when I'm around them to seek that type of intentionality with my walk.
In every country that we visited, and we've circled the globe at least 3 times since we've been in World Missions. That's a lot of trips.
It's a lot. It's a lot of miles.
A lot of miles. They still train biblical principles, Christian education. I think we made a mistake in America, in the American church, when we, maybe I'm getting on dangerous ground here, but hey, at this season of my life, who cares? We both were raised in a demonstratively worshiping church, right. South Georgia Pentecostal Church of God. And we love it. We love the music. We love the clapping. We love the manifestations of the Spirit. But we were also taught the Word in an old thing called Sunday school. Yeah. Whatever you call it, and of course I'm a Christian education major. That I'm biased to that, but I've noticed in these other countries, we train the Word first. And then we worship. Yeah. And I'm thinking, wow, maybe we can get back to some of that. Yeah. Because I think some of our places seem to be missing that.
Yes.
It's I think we have it backwards in some ways.
I think we do.
You know, how can you practice the Word if you don't know the Word?
Wow.
And it takes such an effort for them to get to a service.
Yes.
I mean, they walk for miles and miles.
Yes.
And we won't even drive 2 blocks.
No, it's too rainy today. I don't think I'll go. I won't go to church today, and I can just watch online.
You
right?
can't keep them away from it.
Right.
They're hungry,
yes.
And God help the American church to be hungry again.
We were in one service in Africa, and the place was so packed that Dwayne was doing the live stream and photography, and I mean, they just kept getting closer and closer to him, and he barely had a place to stand, but they were just, you looked at the windows and they were just hanging out the windows.
Wow.
And I mean, if you don't think that will touch your heart,
yes,
that'll touch your heart.
That will make me feel conviction.
That's right.
You know,
I was preaching and I was convicted.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. You know, one I'm going to say, we got a phone call a while back from your office, and the question that was asked is, do we do counseling for international missionaries? You know, people overseas, and you know, we started doing online counseling in 2019. I did not know COVID was going to hit. By the way, God obviously knew, and so it helped set us up perfectly for that. But we started doing international work through your leadership. We're now doing counseling in 7 or 8 different countries right now, and that's growing. And I just want to say thank you, because it's really such an honor to be able to work with World Missions, quite frankly. And I've always believed we can get a lot more done when we work together.
Absolutely. Well, we can't, and I don't want to get on a hobby horse here, but I just can't, from my perspective, thank God enough for what you all do here. You do things we cannot do. We don't have the specialized training. We got the heart for it, but that's why we send them to you. And thank you so much for receiving them well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are you seeing with our missionaries on the field? Things that they may be struggling with, things about mental health, emotional health, because it's a different world. It
is. I remember back when LaQuitt and I were dating, I think some Southern gospel group sang this song, had the verses, "We're living in perilous times." I thought we were then. We are now. With this culture, this global culture, which in one sense, has become so anti-Christ. Anything that seems to be associated with true Christianity, with being a disciple of Christ, has become a target. We've been to places where we felt very, very threatened, and they knew something was up. They don't know this guy, but our missionaries are embedded. They're there facing impending danger every single moment of every single day. That's why when they come back to itinerate on our watch, we demanded, we didn't just suggest, we said, look, we love you too much. You got to go and at least debrief with ministerial care. They have to let us know that you're still okay. And, honestly, being as confidential as we can, we've had some that we had to hold back because they weren't ready to go back, because they'd been there for so long. They'd gotten off the main path into a ditch. Yeah. And we didn't know that until we saw them. So it as difficult as it is to do ministry in America in a free society, think how difficult every single day. And we've had some that have lost their lives. We've had some that have been in prison. Last year in North, I'll say this much because I want to protect those who are there. Sure. In parts of Northwest Africa, we had 10 of our ministers who were imprisoned for 3 weeks. We literally prayed them out of their imprisonment. The church prayed. So every single day, they need prayer, they need therapy, they need support.
Absolutely. And it's dangerous work.
Dangerous work.
And that's just something that I don't think we think about enough, quite frankly. They're putting their lives on the line for the calling that God has put in their
every
life.
Minute of every day.
Yeah. We're going to take our last break. When we come back, I want Dr. Probst to share with us what they have going on in World Missions today, and he's going to talk about the 365 Challenge. We'll be right back right after this.
If you would like to help support the Center for Ministerial Care continue its mission of serving those who so faithfully serve all of us, we encourage you to like us on Facebook, subscribe to this podcast, and share it with others. You can also visit our website at ministerialcare.com and click the donate button to make a contribution that directly benefits our services.
Welcome back to our final segment of Pastoring on Purpose. And Dr. Probst, share with the listeners out there a little about what you have going on at World Missions. And you mentioned the 365 Challenge. I'm really interested to learn more about what this initiative is. And so educate our audience, if you don't mind.
Thank you for the opportunity to do that. I love talking about World Missions. I really love talking about the 365 Challenge, which became the 365 Journey. When I was the assistant director of World Missions, one of the assignments that the general director at that time gave me was direct supervision over all of our missionaries. So they're required by the World Missions Board to come back at least every 2 years for a few months to see you all, to get health checkups, to visit with the leadership. We just kind of check their temperature. So when we were doing all of that, every career missionary that would meet with me, before I left them, I would ask them, if I wanted to win unreached people, tell me how to do it. Till the person said, that's easy. I said, tell me if it's easy. They'd say, meet their needs. I said, unpack that for me. They said, find whatever it is that they need. Meet that need. That will open a door. It will earn a right for them to listen to your story. And I've said it hundreds of times, we got the greatest story ever told about Jesus Christ. So when it seemed that the Lord would allow us to continue in World Missions, I'd received counsel by the general director. He said, now look, you're probably going to be elected, so you need to do this. And so I did part of it, and I committed the rest of it to prayer. And I was getting nothing. I was getting absolutely nothing. Yeah. And the General Assembly was we were in the red zone. Driving in, as I said earlier, we live way out in the country. Driving into the campus one day, I'd been praying in the car. I came around a curve. I said, Lord, speak to me. Tell me what you want. And this is the craziest thing. And I don't know if I'm not very spiritual or if I'm very spiritual, but it was like I looked up in the sky and I saw 365. I don't know if I actually saw it or if it was just there. Yeah. But I thought, wow, 365, 365. I was driving and I said, Lord, what are you telling me? He said, tell my people to walk with you on a 365-day challenge to do missions every day. So time goes, you get the General Assembly, and God allowed us to remain in World Missions, become the director. And I was able to launch it the first time probably ever, or at least in decades, that a newly elected director could actually launch his initiative at the General Assembly. For 40 years, we had raised money for capital projects, buildings. You got to have those. But when people would push back and say, we don't understand what that means, I said, okay, what have you been doing? They said, well, we've been building buildings. We can raise money for that. I said, do you believe in the rapture? Of course we believe in the rapture. I said, how many buildings will go? They all said none. Yeah. I said, what if we spent the money on people?
Yeah.
So what we did, we launched a 365 challenge. We asked the General Assembly for the next year, every day, pray a bit for world missions.
Love it.
Just ask for the favor of God to rest on us, because I've lived long enough to learn one touch of God's favor changes everything. And then support us. Go with us on a trip. If you can't go, help us get there. Our missionaries had been doing it on a micro level. On a macro level, we had not done it. We started meeting the physical and material needs of people, all with a view to meeting spiritual needs. Yeah. And it grew like a snowball rolling downhill, exponential growth. From every corner of the world, we would meet needs. We built some hospitals. We supplied medical care. We built schools. We're still doing that. We dug hundreds of water wells. You'd be surprised. Can I tell you a quick story about a water well? Yeah. We dug a well in Pakistan, remote Pakistan. We have a church. We always put the well near a water source or on our church property. They had been drawing water from a contaminated well. There was sickness among the kids. There was sickness among the adults. They had a bad river miles from the village that had been historically their main water source, but it bred sickness, waterborne illnesses. So we dug a well, we tested it. It was crystal clear. It was pure. So we announced to the city, bring your buckets, 5-gallon buckets. From this time of the morning to this time of the afternoon, you get free water. Mm. They would line up. Muslims line up. It is so interesting. Our overseer contacted me and he said, I got a story to tell you. There was a Muslim woman with her 2 children, and she had been waiting in line for a while. It came her turn to fill up her 2 buckets. And with tears in her eyes, she asked the water ambassador, who was the pastor of the local Church of God, by the way. That was the hook.
Yeah.
Whose well is this? He said, you don't know this man. Oh, could I meet him? I want to thank him, because all of my life, I had to go to the river. My children have been sick because the water was bad. But I want to thank this man. What is his name? He said, his name is Jesus.
Wow.
He said, go over here and talk to my wife. She will introduce you to this man called Jesus. From that, we experienced revival. So that is a prime example of how you meet their needs. And we've replicated that in almost every country in the world. We give food, we give clothes, we give shelter, we give shoes. And as we do that, our missionaries are able to share the good news of Jesus Christ.
Wow.
That's the journey.
That is amazing because you're meeting the need. It's let's meet their physical need first. Let's make that connection because this is what they need. And then it opens the door because you're building relationships. It's absolutely phenomenal. Is there a way people can help to give to that and support?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. COGWM.org is our website, very user-friendly. You can go to COGWM.org and see all of our financial reports. We have complete transparency. You can see all of our music videos, all of our heroes of the faith, all of our projects, all of our missionaries. COGWM.org. You can find it all right there and a link to give.
Love it. Thank you so much to the both of you for being with us today. We love you. We appreciate you, all the work that you two do. I have so much respect for you two. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Bless
Thank
you all.
you.
Is there one thing that you'd want to leave our listeners, our people out there that maybe got a couple that's struggling, maybe they're going through a difficult time in this season? What kind of word of encouragement would you want to leave them?
Well, we love to share hope. I think hope is mentioned almost 200 times in the Bible. I don't know, depending upon the translation, maybe more or less. I'm not sure. A person can live without drink. They can live without food for a certain amount of time, but you can't live without hope.
That's true.
You just have to keep that hope alive by reading the Word, being in close proximity of someone that shares hope.
Yeah.
That adds to your life instead of takes away.
That's good.
And that's what we always try to leave with people, a message of hope.
Don't lose that hope today. And it's been an honor to have Dr. Probst, Laquita with us. And this is the ending of this episode. This is episode number 99. Our next episode will be our 100th episode, by the way. And so we're super excited about that. I just had to make a little note about that. So thank you to our listeners that have been with us throughout this whole time. Thank you to our new listeners that have decided to follow us and pick us up. We really do love and appreciate you. For myself, for the wonderful Professor Jeff Sargent, for our producer Ryan, for Dr. Probst, as well as for Laquita. We will see you next time on Pastoring on Purpose. Until then, God bless.
You've been listening to Pastoring on Purpose, the official podcast of the Center for Ministerial Care. Join us next time as we continue our purposeful progress to becoming better pastors and better people.